Welcome into the Flippin' Hippos reseller channel. I'm Star. If you're new here or you haven't already, please consider helping us feed a hungry hippo by subscribing to the channel and hitting the thumbs up. Today we're going to talk about how to ensure your auto delister with List Perfectly is in correct working order. If you are a user of List Perfectly and you have the Pro Plus plan, it does delist automatically for you when you make sales. For example, if you cross list from eBay to Poshmark, Mercari, and Etsy, and you sell something on eBay, List Perfectly's auto delister will end those active listings on Etsy, Mercari, and Poshmark for you while you're asleep, while you're at the store, while you're eating dinner, around the clock. And it keeps you from having double sales and making costly mistakes. However, I consistently see in the List Perfectly Facebook group, and I get messages from folks who have signed up with my code, which, by the way, if you're not a List Perfectly user and you're watching this because you're curious, I have an entire playlist of tutorials for List Perfectly that shows you all of the features it has. It's so much more than a cross-listing service. It even shares your Poshmark closet nowadays and sends offers for you on your behalf. It does so much. If you want to try it out, you can get 30% off with our code flippinhippos for your first month and then go from there. So I'm getting messages, I'm seeing posts in the group, I'm seeing things on Instagram. People are getting frustrated. People are getting irritated. People are getting mad. And when people are spending money on something that isn't working right, I understand the frustration. I understand why it's irritating when you're paying for a service that isn't working. I'm going to preface this by saying I'm about to give a little bit of tough love. I'm not going to be as nice about this as the List Perfectly team is. If you're going to pay for a service, you're going to sign up to use it, I would suggest learning how to use it and asking questions before you immediately jump to anger, irritation, and just being rude. Not everyone's going to know how to use everything immediately upon signing up, right? Technology, platforms, apps, all of these things do have a learning curve. But when you sign up for List Perfectly, there's a guide to get you started. There's a live chat at the bottom of your catalog where you can talk to staff members. There's a group. There's all kinds of ways you can reach out for help and just say, hey, how come my delister isn't working? But the amount of people I see coming in just... I understand the frustration. I get it. When something doesn't work, it's frustrating. And it can be infuriating when you're paying for something that doesn't work. Trust me, I know. Let's talk about my garbage company sometimes who arbitrarily decides not to come some weeks and just skip houses other weeks. And I pay for that service and I get upset and I have to call. But I behave like an adult and I don't lash out at the girl on the phone because it's not her fault. So when you sign up for List Perfectly, there's just so much offered to you to help you learn this. There's so many nice people at List Perfectly that will help you, hold your hand, teach you, walk along. I have tutorials. I don't think that there's a reason for people to get infuriated, frustrated, and upset to begin with. Because if you haven't learned how to use something properly and you don't have it set up to work, you can't get mad at it. That's like saying, I bought a new washing machine, but I didn't plug it in. So now I'm calling Maytag and screaming at them because I spent money on this washing machine. And how dare you sell me something that doesn't work? Well, if it's not plugged in, it can't work. And List Perfectly has some things that you need to do in order for all the features to work. It's user error. It's not List Perfectly error. And if people weren't so nasty about it, I probably wouldn't even have put this part in the video. I would have just jumped straight to the 5 things that you need to do. But people are nasty. Listen, learn how to use something before you get angry that it's not working. You can't not plug in your router and not have internet and call Time Warner Cable or whatever these days and scream at them. Learn how to use your shit, people, before you act like rhinoceroses in a herd chasing Scar down the mountain. All right, that's out of my system. we're going to go over this 5 steps that you have to have in place. And this is in order for your auto delister to work. It will not work if you don't do these 5 things. So I'm going to go over these real quick. I am going to come out with more updated List Perfectly videos in the next month or 2. I'm probably actually just going to sit down and re-record all of my tutorial videos. Everyone I've already made, and then do new tutorial videos for all of their new features. Boy, if I could talk today. Let me get a drink of water. So my actual tutorial videos are very succinct. I don't chat at you. I don't talk to you. This is how you do this, this, and this. If you've ever watched them, they're like 2 minutes long a piece. So I am going to re-record and update all my List Perfectly stuff. And I'll even put in the title so we all know, like, how to share Poshmark with List Perfectly 2025, right? So this one will be re-recorded in that mess and put it in the tutorial in the mess. That's not a mess. I like doing tutorials. I don't know why I call them a mess. This one will also be re-recorded without me saying dumb shit like that. That's the second time I've sworn in this video. Is it Friday? I'm going to give credit where credit is due. These pictures that you're looking at that are all in this collage were put together by Kim from List Perfectly. She made the collage. The original pictures and the original post with these steps to make this work were from Teresa Cox. List Perfectly does have a Facebook group you should be in if you're a List Perfectly user, and all of their employees are very active in the group. And like I said before, they could not be nicer people. They are so patient and kind, and they put things like this together in posts 50 times a day if that's what's needed to help people. So I did take this from their group, and it's very important that these steps are met, or your auto delist will not work, and then you'll be frustrated, and hopefully you're not going to be rude about it. But why get frustrated in the first place? Just set stuff up so that it will work. So they call it their auto detect sales and auto delist. It detects the sale, first of all, on what platform it's sold on, and then it delists on all of the other platforms. But you have to have good catalog health and good account health on all your platforms you sell on in order for the delist to work. Think of it like List Perfectly has to talk to each of your platforms that you sell on. And if the phone line is cut, if the internet isn't on, if anything along that way of communication is not working, List Perfectly cannot talk to those platforms and do what it needs to do. So first you have to actually have sales detection turned on. If you don't have sales detection turned on, it's not going to work. And this is a common mistake. This is very common, actually, when folks first sign up for the Pro Plus. They're like, how come it's not delisting for me? Well, it's just a simple check. It really is. So when you first get the List Perfectly extension on your Google Chrome or your Microsoft Edge, you need to click your puzzle piece here and make sure the blue push pin is highlighted next to List Perfectly. That way you have a shortcut on your bar for List Perfectly. And this is where you can get into all your settings and your features and all the goodies. Right down here where it says sales detection, you have to make sure that's toggled to on. See, if it's red, it's not doing its job. You've just effectively cut that phone line. Let's turn it on. The next thing is that you have to be connected to your marketplaces. So like I said, you have to have a way of communication between List Perfectly and your platforms. So the way you're going to do that, if you want to check that you're connected, first you go into your tab here with all your little goodies. And down here next to your sales detection where it says sales, click on that green square. And up here, you're going to see your platforms. And if they're lit up in green, they're connected. If they're red, they're not connected. Now, that either means you haven't connected them and you need to fix that, or you don't sell on that platform. You have to decide that for yourself. They also have, if you're in your catalog, up here at the top, this huge blue bar that says connections. If you click that, it's a very simple way to also quickly check and make sure folks are connected I called the platform folks like they're people. Hi, Etsy, how you doing? You got to make sure how everybody's connected. And sometimes they will disconnect. Sometimes something will happen where Macari, maybe their developers are changing coding over there, like when they change the fees again and again and again. But sometimes something can happen. It's not a list perfectly error. When developers change things in these selling platforms, they're effectively cutting that line of communication. So when List Perfectly is set up to talk to Etsy and Etsy changes something in their coding, one simple change can cut that phone cord or that internet connection to List Perfectly, basically. That's an analogy I keep using because I really feel like it makes it easier to understand. And then List Perfectly will hear about it. Their developers get on it right away and they fix it. List Perfectly is so fast at fixing stuff. It's I swear their developers are like Santa's elves. They're magic. But yeah, you can go in here, you can delete, you can go into your settings, and you can just make sure that everything's hunky-dory when you go into your connections here. And if it's not talking, if this is red, just delete it and reconnect it. So you saw how I pushed the trash can on Poshmark? Down here on available platforms, I'm going to reconnect my Poshmark by clicking connect and connect again. And now my Poshmark's connected. So you need to have your sales detection on. You need to have your platforms connected. That way List Perfectly can tell when something sells. And then you have to make sure your auto delist is turned on. So if you don't have your auto delister turned on, that can break the connection. So if you have sales detection turned on, all your platforms are connected, and you haven't checked this one little box, it's going to tell you when things sold, but it's not going to end them for you. So you'll find that here on the little shortcut I showed you. And you're just going to go into settings, right down here in this list, turn on auto delist. You need to make sure that box is checked. If it is not checked, List Perfectly will detect sales all day long till the cows come home, but never end one single one. You have to make sure this is checked. Your catalog has to be in sync, meaning your item ID numbers from your listings must be correct in your List Perfectly catalog. So when you go to your catalog and this says I have this necklace on eBay, I should be able to click that link, pulls it up, there's my necklace. The same with every platform. It should be able to pull it right up and show you your listing. If it's not showing your listing, it's not connected for some reason. The most common reason is that people use bots, basically, or AI assistants to end and delist, especially on Poshmark. And when you do that, you're breaking the connection to List Perfectly. So if I had this necklace listed on Poshmark, this item ID number is synced to List Perfectly. So if this item sells on Poshmark, it will know. If it sells anywhere else, it will end it. However, if I use one of those bots to auto delist and relist items for me each day on Poshmark, when that bot ends this listing and relists it, it relists it with a different ID number. So this ID number that I've highlighted in the address bar will still be in the List Perfectly catalog. But this necklace is going to have a different ID number because you've used something else other than List Perfectly to connect it. Do you understand? Are you following along? If not, leave comments. I will be more than happy to help people with this and walk you through and answer questions. So there's 2 ways to fix that. There's 3 ways to fix that. We'll go through that real quick. But when you break that link, say this sells on eBay later today, and I used an auto relister and changed that ID number. When List Perfectly goes to end this necklace because it's sold on eBay and it looks on Poshmark, it's no longer going to find it. So it has nothing to end. So it's not going to end it. But your necklace with the new ID number sits there. And now you're going to run into double sales and trouble, right? So one way to fix that Don't use other programs to list or delist and relist on any platforms, because you're just changing ID numbers and making it harder on yourself. You're making it so List Perfectly can't communicate to the platforms and do its job. Don't use another extension, system, platform, feature, whatever. You can very easily delist and relist with List Perfectly. You don't have to use another app. You have to do it manually, which is why some people like those apps. So I'm going to show you a second way to get around that. But you can highlight however many you want to do that day. You click your button here on the left, the green one, and I can say Poshmark, I can say end. Once they're all ended, I can come in and say copy and put them right back on Poshmark, and it keeps the health of my account. It keeps the health of my catalog. My Poshmark listings, new ID numbers will be in List Perfectly's catalog, so I'm not breaking any chains of communication. The other way is to just double check that everything is connected. If you really do like using your third-party apps to delist, relist, which some people do because it requires no effort. If you're delisting, relisting with List Perfectly, it does require some clicks in a couple of minutes. And from what I understand, the auto ones do it for you, like in the background. So if they're doing that, you do have to double check that your items are being listed to the List Perfectly catalog. So when you come in your closet, you see this little, in the left-hand corner of my listing right here, copied. This would be green and say link. If this was a broken listing, if List Perfectly can no longer see it for some reason, it's going to ask you to link. So what we're going to do, I'm going to purposely mess this up, okay? That way I can show you what it looks like when it wants you to link. So I'm just going to take that ID number out of List Perfectly. Hopefully that'll mess it up enough that I can fix it. You see how it went black? Okay, so I'm hoping if I refresh this page, there we go. So you see now where this bracelet says link. So if you're using one of those apps that delist and relist for you and you do 20 a day, 20 of your items are going to have 20 brand new ID numbers, and they're not going to be linked to List Perfectly. But you can come in your closet, push link again down here, and now you're linked and you're fixed. So you can either do the delisting, relisting using List Perfectly. You can continue to use your third-party apps and come into your closet and just relink everything. And that goes for every platform. I did say there's a third option. However, I do not recommend this one. You could just not delist and relist. But for several reasons on each platform, I think it's important to be doing that. So you'll just have to decide if you want to do it yourself, use the third-party app and relink your items. Or just be okay with the fact that your items aren't going to delist. But you have to have that connection. And a lot of people get frustrated by that as well. They get upset that I don't understand how they think any computer program is so magical that you could go in and change the item ID in an address that's connected to the platform and it's just going to automatically know. Wait a minute. Yes, it does. But wait, there's more. So if you go into your List Perfectly catalog under issues, it's going to pull up any issues it finds, any mistakes, any broken ID numbers, any links that aren't connecting, anything that didn't delist for any reason. And it also shows up here. So if I sell an item on eBay and it goes to end it on Poshmark and it can't find it and it errors out because maybe I broke the link, under status here, you're going to have a big red button and it's going to tell you exactly what went wrong. And you can go to the listing and fix it in your catalog. You also have your issues. You can run an issue finder. I recommend running it at least once a week, more often if you run a third-party app for any reason. And this will pull up all of your issues. And it's going to tell you what the issue is, and you can easily fix it. So you click on the exclamation part. This is telling me that there's no active listing found on eBay, even though List Perfectly has it listed on eBay. Now, this is pretty common with eBay because eBay has not caught up to the 21st century and is still back in caveman days. This person bought this remote and hasn't paid yet. They offered me $4.90 and I accepted their offer. They wanted 9 cents off. I don't know why, but I was like, okay. So I accepted it and they haven't paid yet. So here we are in 1983, circa 1983 eBay. I don't know why we don't have auto payments. Okay, so it's sold. It has not been paid for. So List Perfectly will not end it. In order for a sale to register from eBay to List Perfectly to tell it, hey, detect this sale, start delisting it on other platforms, it must be paid for. If it's sitting in the waiting payment, List Perfectly doesn't end it, but it will alert you that, hey, there's no active listing on eBay right now, but I say I have one. As soon as that buyer pays, List Perfectly will do its thing. It'll end it on the other platforms and mark it sold on eBay for me. Sold items actually get marked sold and show you what platform it's sold on. And if you have, returns or more than 2 items, sometimes you'll see more than one platform. But yeah, it marks it. But until this gets paid for, it's going to sit like this. I'm not going to end it because if somebody buys it on Poshmark while the eBay buyer's twiddling their thumbs and singing la-di-da, I'm going to cancel the eBay person and send it to the person on Poshmark. All right, one last thing. Your computer has to be on and running. So if you turn your computer off for any reason, it's not going to work. And I know that this is a point of contention for a lot of people, but it is what it is. I have a high-powered gaming laptop, and I am a snob about my computers. Keith is an IT guy. He builds his own computers. You want to talk about a snob? We're both computer snobs and nerds. And part of taking care of your gaming laptops has always been you shut it down at the end of the night. So I had 2 choices. I also have like a work laptop, but I never use it. Like my gaming laptop's already set up on my desk where I play World of Warcraft. So I just leave it and work on it as well. But I do have a second laptop. So I could shut my gaming laptop down at night and open my work laptop and leave that running. Or you can turn it off at night. And when you turn your computer back on in the morning, List Perfectly will start detecting the sales. Really, it will. So let's say you don't want to leave your computer on at night. Now you're running the risk of something double selling. But you have to determine for yourself. I don't recommend it, but I can't tell you what to do. You have to determine that risk for yourself if it's worth it or not. A lot of people do this and don't care about the risk or don't run into problems. Knock on wood for those people. But you can turn your computer off at night, go to bed, do your thing, get up in the morning. Say you sold 20 items overnight. The minute you turn your computer on and get on your List Perfectly, all 20 items will start going cha-ching, cha-ching. Yeah, it's cute. List Perfectly, when it detects a sale, does go cha-ching, cha-ching, and then it starts ending them. So you could sell 1 item, 50 items, 100 items overnight. The minute you turn your computer back on in the morning, List Perfectly will start detecting those sales and auto delisting them on the other platforms. Or you could leave it on overnight and it'll work all night. I actually do leave mine on. I just make sure that I reboot it once a day. So that's my compromise to myself. And on the weekends, I switch to my work laptop. So during the week, I just make sure that once a day for the memory and RAM and the health of my baby here, my gaming computer, I just reboot it once a day. It's part of my routine now. Like as soon as we're done shipping, I just reboot the computer and get everything back up running for the day. And you got to check and make sure your auto delist stays checked. And when you turn your computer off and back on or reboot and you go back into your catalog, you'll have some windows pop up over here on the right. That'll say, do you want to restart your Posh sharing, your Posh offers? Just say yes to all of it. Because when you turn your computer off, you are disconnecting that communication with List Perfectly. So it will not talk to any of the platforms about sales or sharing or sending offers. The minute you turn your computer back on and go into your catalog, it starts talking to everybody again and things start happening. You can leave your computer running. I do recommend rebooting it at least once a day. And then, like I said, on Fridays, I do shut this baby down. Unless I'm gaming. If I play games over the weekend, I'll use her. But I let her just rest. And I turn my work computer on for the List Perfectly. All right, this was a little bit more long-winded than I thought it would be. I thought I was just going to go through the 5 points, but you guys, it's me. But again, I will make this into one of my actual tutorial videos, and those are very on point, very quick. I don't chat. I just, In this video, we will talk about the 5 things needed to assure, and then I just read if you've ever seen my tutorials. But my more relaxed videos, I talk a lot. It is what it is. I am who I am. And thank you for watching. I want you to go be productive. I want you to go turn these 5 things on. I want you to think about using List Perfectly if you haven't already. You can try it for 30% off. List Perfectly can do everything, all the things. Check out my playlist. And if you are on the Pro plan and you're not on the Pro Plus, the lowest Pro Plus plan is $99 a month. If you are selling enough, whether it's high volume or high sale prices, if you're making enough profits every month, the difference between Pro and the lowest tier of Plus is $1 a day. That's not even one extra sale a day to justify paying for this. You get the listing assistant generator for AI listings. You get the background. You get everything. I can't recommend it enough. $1 a day for me to be 3 times, 4 times as productive than I could be on my own without all the help from the generator and the Delister and sharing my Posh Closet for me and all of that. So, all right, I'll see you guys in the next one. If you have questions, comments, concerns, let me know down below. Join the Facebook group and have a wonderful day. Bye.